A daughter discovers her family didn't just steal her vacation, they stole her entire future. I'm standing in my son's bedroom doorway and I can't breathe. My hands are shaking so badly I have to grip the doorframe. On his desk, my 23-year-old son's desk, the one I bought him when he started high school, there's a stack of unopened envelopes, college financial aid letters, loan statements, all addressed to him, all dated from 5 years ago. And tucked between them a single sheet of paper, a bank statement, my bank statement, the college fund I'd been building since he was born, the one I'd worked double shifts for, the one that was supposed to have $43,000 in it. Balance $127. I hear my sister Diane's voice from downstairs, laughing, my mother's responding giggle. They're in my kitchen, drinking my coffee, and they have no idea I know. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My name is Patricia Ann Donovan. I'm 52 years old, and until 3 weeks ago I thought I understood my place in my family. I was the responsible one, the boring one, the one who showed up, shut up, and did what needed doing. I'd spent 30 years playing that role perfectly. I'm telling you this story today because I need you to understand something. There's a difference between being patient and being a doormat, and I spent half my life not knowing which one I was. Let me take you back to where this really started. It was the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, 2023. I was at the Kroger in Westerville, Ohio, staring at a turkey that cost $47. $47 for a bird I'd cook for people who wouldn't thank me for it. But that's what you do, right? You're the oldest daughter, you host Thanksgiving. My phone buzzed, my sister Diane. Hey Patty, quick question. Are you still planning to go on that Alaskan cruise for your birthday? I'd been planning that trip for 2 years, saved for it dollar by dollar. It was supposed to be my 52nd birthday present to myself, 10 days in Alaska, something I'd dreamed about since I was a girl watching nature documentaries with my father before he died, before everything became about everyone else. Of course, I said, wedging the phone between my shoulder and ear as I grabbed the overpriced turkey. I leave January 15th. Why? There was a pause, a weird one. Oh, nothing, just wanted to make sure. Love you. She hung up before I could respond. I should have known then. That pause. But I was tired. I'd worked a 10-hour shift at the hospital where I'm a patient coordinator, then stopped to get groceries for a holiday I'd be cooking alone, and I just didn't have the energy to read into my sister's tone. That was my first mistake. Thanksgiving came. I hosted naturally. Diane showed up an hour late with store-bought rolls and a Costco pie, which my mother praised like she'd baked it from scratch. My son Marcus was there with his girlfriend Emma. My daughter Sophie drove up from Columbus with her husband. 13 people total, crammed into my little split-level ranch house. I'd been cooking since 6 a.m. My mother held court at the head of my table in my house, telling everyone about her new watercolor class and her book club and her friend Margaret's hip replacement. Diane sat beside her, laughing at all the right moments, refilling Mom's wine glass, playing the devoted daughter. I was in the kitchen, reheating gravy, when I heard it. Oh, Diane, you're such a blessing, my mother said, her voice carrying over the dinner chatter. I don't know what I'd do without you. You always know exactly what I need. My hand tightened around the gravy boat. Sophie appeared beside me. Mom, you okay? Fine, I said, just tired. She squeezed my shoulder. The turkey was perfect. Everything is perfect. You always make everything perfect. I wanted to tell her that perfect was exhausting, that I was 52 years old, and I couldn't remember the last time someone asked me what I needed instead of just assuming I'd handle whatever they needed. But I didn't. I just smiled and brought out the gravy. The conversation happened after dinner, when the men were watching football and the women were picking at pie in the living room. So, Patty, my mother said too casually, Diane and I were talking about your cruise. My stomach dropped, I don't know why, but it did. What about it? My mother glanced at Diane, who suddenly became very interested in her pumpkin pie. Well, honey, we were thinking. The grandkids have been saying how much they miss spending time with Grandma, and since there are 2 tickets, you'd bought one for David before the divorce, right? We thought maybe it would be nice if Mom could use that second ticket instead. The room went quiet. I stared at my mother. She was 74, perfectly healthy, perfectly capable of booking her own vacation. She'd just been to Scottsdale with her friends in October. The grandkids love her so much, Diane added, her voice dripping with that special kind of guilt only siblings can weaponize. And you two never spend quality time together. It could be really special. It's my birthday trip, I said slowly. I planned it for me. Well, yes, but it's not like you're going alone anyway, right? My mother's smile was tight. You were going to have company. This way you still do. And it would mean so much to me, Patricia. When was the last time we did something, just the two of us? Because you never wanted to, I thought. Because every time I've asked, you've been busy with Diane. But I didn't say that. Sophie was watching me. Marcus was watching me. Even Emma, who barely knew my family, was watching me, her expression uncomfortable. Let me think about it, I said. Of course, Diane said brightly. No pressure. But there was pressure. Over the next 3 days, I got 7 phone calls. My mother called twice, talking about how rejuvenated she'd feel after a nice trip, how hard it was being a widow, how she felt like she was losing touch with me. Diane called 3 times, reminding me how much Mom sacrificed for us growing up, how she'd been seeming a little down lately, how it's just a ticket, Patty, not a kidney. My Aunt Linda called, my cousin Sarah called. Everyone had opinions about what I should do with my birthday present to myself. No one asked if I wanted to give it away. On the 4th day, I caved. I told myself it was because I was being mature, generous, a good daughter. Looking back now, I know the truth. I caved because I'd been trained my entire life to cave. I called my mother. Okay, I said, you can have the ticket. She actually squealed. Oh, Patricia, this is going to be so wonderful, you and me just like old times. What old times, I wanted to ask. When did we ever have us time that wasn't about her? But I made the call to the cruise line and transferred the ticket to her name. And then something strange happened. 2 days later, I got a call from the cruise company. Ms. Donovan, we're calling to confirm the cancellation of your January 15th Alaskan cruise package. We've processed the refund to the original card on file, minus the cancellation fee. You should see the credit within 7 to 10 business days. My blood went cold. I didn't cancel anything. I transferred 1 ticket to my mother, Linda Callahan. There was typing on the other end. Ma'am, according to our records, both tickets were cancelled on December 2nd at 3:47 p.m. The caller provided your confirmation number and booking information. December 2nd, the day after I'd agreed to give my mother the ticket. Who called? I asked. The account holder, Patricia Donovan. That wasn't me. Maury typing. Ma'am, I'm showing the call came from the primary contact number on file ending in 4739. My mother's phone number. My hands started shaking. So where's my money? I asked. The refund of $2,140 was credited to the card ending in 8833. Not my card. Can you tell me whose card that is? I'm sorry, ma'am. I can only confirm it was changed to that card number on November 27th. 4 days before Thanksgiving, before they'd even asked me about the ticket. I sat in my car in the hospital parking lot during my lunch break and called my bank. It took 20 minutes of waiting, but finally a representative confirmed it. Someone had accessed my online banking on November 27th using my login credentials and added an external account for transfers. They'd moved $2,000 into that account on December 2nd. Do you recognize this account? The banker asked, reading off the routing number. I didn't. I need to know whose account that is, I said. Ma'am, I can't disclose that information, but I can tell you the name on the account is Diane M. Callahan. The world tilted. Diane. My sister had stolen my cruise refund, which meant my mother had cancelled my trip, which meant they'd planned this. I hung up and just sat there, staring at the steering wheel, my breath coming in short gasps. 30 years of being the reliable one, the one who hosted holidays and helped with down payments and babysat, and listened and sacrificed and smiled through it all. And they'd robbed me. Not just of money, of my dignity. I didn't confront them, not yet. Instead, I went home and started looking. Because here's what I'd learned in 52 years. People who steal once have usually stolen before. I pulled my credit report. I went through old bank statements, years of them, looking for irregularities I'd been too tired or too trusting to notice. And I found them. Small transfers I didn't remember authorizing. A personal loan taken out in 2019 that I'd thought was for Marcus's college, but had actually been paid to an account I didn't recognize. A credit card opened in my name in 2020, maxed out, then closed. The debt somehow shuffled into my mortgage refinance. I found emails in my trash folder, ones I didn't remember deleting, from financial institutions, from the college Marcus had attended, from credit agencies. And then I found the big one. Marcus's college fund. The 529 plan I'd opened when he was born, the one I'd contributed to for 23 years, sometimes just $20 a month when that was all I had, sometimes more when I worked overtime. It should have had $43,000. It had 127. The withdrawals had started in 2018, right before Marcus's freshman year, but they hadn't gone to his tuition. They'd gone to that same external account, Diane's account. $42,000. Stolen over 5 years. And Marcus had taken out loans I didn't know about to pay for college. He was buried in debt because someone had stolen his future. I called Marcus. He was at work, but I didn't care. "Did you know about the college fund?" I asked. Silence. "Marcus." "Mom, he sighed. "Grandma told me the fund wasn't enough to cover everything. She said you'd made some bad investments and lost most of it, and I needed to take out loans. She said you were embarrassed, so I shouldn't bring it up." My vision blurred. "She said I lost it." "Yeah, and Aunt Diane helped me fill out the loan paperwork. She was really nice about it, actually. Said she wished she could help more, but she had her own kids' college to worry about." "I bet she did. With my son's money." "Marcus," I said carefully, "I need to see all your loan documents. Everything. Can you send them to me?" "Why, Mom, what's going on?" "Just send them." He sent them that night. $73,000 in student loans. My son was $73,000 in debt for a state school education that should have been mostly covered. I sat at my kitchen table with a bottle of wine. I didn't drink, and a calculator and a notepad, and I added it all up. The cruise refund, $2,000. The college fund, $42,000. The mysterious loan from 2019, $8,500. The credit card debt, $6,200. Smaller transfers over the years, roughly $3,800. Total, $62,500. $62,500. Stolen by my mother and my sister. From me, from my son. And they'd made me feel guilty for not wanting to give up my birthday cruise. I could have called the police. I could have sued them. But here's the thing about family theft. It's almost impossible to prove when they've had access to your accounts for decades, when you've trusted them with passwords and bank information, when they've been helping you with finances. And even if I could prove it, what then? I'd drag my own mother and sister through court. I'd destroy what was left of my family. My kids would be caught in the middle. And for what? The money was gone. Diane had probably spent it. My mother would play the victim, say she didn't understand, say Diane handled everything. No, I needed something smarter. Something that would make them feel exactly what they'd made me feel. I spent 2 weeks planning. First, I called the cruise line back and rebooked my trip. A different cruise, a better one, leaving in February. I paid for it with a new credit card in my name only, with a bank they didn't know about. Then I called my kids, both of them. I told them everything. Sophie cried. Marcus punched a wall. "Why didn't Grandma just ask for help?" Sophie said. "Why steal from you?" "Because taking is easier than asking," I said, and because they knew I'd say yes if they asked, but taking makes them feel powerful. "What are you going to do?" Marcus asked. "I'm going to let them think they won," I said, "and then I'm going to take it all back." Christmas came. I hosted again, because of course I did. But this time I watched them. I watched my mother accept hugs from my children, her face glowing with grandmotherly love. I watched Diane help herself to seconds, thirds, complaining about how hard it was to lose weight after 45. I watched them exchange knowing glances when I brought out the ham I'd been basting since dawn. And I smiled. After dinner, I made an announcement. "I have something to tell everyone," I said, standing at the head of the table. "My table." The room quieted. "I've decided to retire early," I said. "I'm selling the house and moving to Colorado. Sophie and Marcus have been wonderful about it. They think I need a fresh start, and they're right. I'm putting the house on the market in January." My mother's face went white. "What?" Diane said. "Patty, you can't. Where will we have holidays?" "You'll figure it out," I said pleasantly. "You're resourceful." "But what about us?" my mother said. "What about family?" I looked her dead in the eye. "What about it?" "The house went up for sale in January. I didn't move to Colorado, but they didn't know that. What I did do was this. I closed every joint account, every shared credit card, every point of access they'd ever had to my finances. I opened a case with my bank's fraud department. I couldn't get the money back, but I could make sure they couldn't take anything else. I sent Marcus's loan documents to a lawyer. We filed a complaint with the college and the loan servicer, documenting that the 529 fund had been fraudulently drained. We didn't sue my family, but we made enough noise that Marcus qualified for loan forgiveness programs he hadn't known existed. And then I did something my mother and sister never expected. I sent them each a bill. Not a legal document, just an invoice. Itemized. College fund theft, $42,000. Cruise refund, $2,000. $2019 loan, $8,500. All the way down. With a note. "You don't have to pay this. I'm not taking you to court. I'm not asking for the money back. I'm just making sure you see in writing exactly what you took from me, from my son. I want you to know that I know, and I want you to live with it." I sent copies to my Aunt Linda, my cousin Sarah, my Uncle Tom, everyone who'd called me that week after Thanksgiving, pressuring me to give up my cruise. I wanted them all to know. The fallout was nuclear. My mother called, screaming, saying I was a liar, saying I'd always been jealous of Diane, saying I was an ungrateful daughter. Diane called, crying, saying it was all a misunderstanding, saying Mom had needed help, saying I was ruining her life. I didn't answer. I let them leave voicemails, dozens of them. And then I sent one text to both of them. "You stole my son's future and my self-respect. You made me feel guilty for wanting one thing for myself. You taught me that family means I'm supposed to be silent and small and endlessly giving. I'm done being that person. Don't contact me again." I blocked their numbers. Here's what happened next. My Aunt Linda called to apologize. She'd had no idea. She sent me a check for $500 with a note that said, "For your next cruise." My cousin Sarah stopped speaking to my mother. Diane's husband found out about the stolen money. They're in marriage counseling now. Turns out he didn't know she'd been siphoning funds from my accounts for years, and he's questioning what else he doesn't know. My mother tried to show up at my house in February. I didn't let her in. She stood on my porch, crying, saying she was an old woman and didn't understand finances, and Diane had told her it was okay. "You cancelled my cruise," I said through the door. "You knew exactly what you were doing." She left. I went on my cruise in February. Alone. It was the most peaceful 10 days of my life. I stood on the deck of the ship and watched glaciers carve into the ocean, and I cried, not because I was sad, but because I finally felt free. I met a woman named Judith from Oregon. She was 70, traveling alone after her husband died. We had dinner together every night. On the last night, she said, "You seem like you just found something you'd been looking for." "I found my spine," I said. She laughed. "Good, don't lose it again." It's been 9 months now. Marcus finished paying off half his loans using a settlement we negotiated with the loan servicer. He's still angry at his grandmother, but he's healing. Sophie doesn't speak to Diane anymore. I haven't seen my mother since that day on the porch. I'm not moving to Colorado, but I did buy a small condo near Lake Erie. It's just for me, no guest room. People ask if I regret cutting off my family. I tell them I didn't cut off my family. I cut off people who were stealing from me. There's a difference. Here's what I need you to understand if you're listening to this. You don't owe people access to your life just because they're related to you. You don't owe them your money, your time, your energy, your peace. And you especially don't owe them silence. For 30 years, I thought being a good daughter, a good sister, meant absorbing everyone's needs and never stating my own. I thought it meant being small, convenient, undemanding. But that's not family, that's servitude. Real love doesn't steal from you and then make you feel guilty for noticing. Real love doesn't gaslight you into thinking you're selfish for wanting the bare minimum of respect. Real love doesn't take and take and take and then call you ungrateful when you finally say no. I'm 52 years old and I finally learned that lesson. I hope you don't wait as long as I did. I'm standing in my new condo now, looking out at the water. I'm drinking coffee from a mug that says, "Not your mom, not your maid." Sophie gave it to me for Mother's Day. And I'm planning my next trip. Maybe Iceland. Maybe Italy. Maybe I'll go back to Alaska. It doesn't matter. What matters is this: it'll be my choice. My money. My life. And no one gets to take that from me again.